Okay, thank you, Mr. Watkins. You can go ahead.
Okay, Tammy is ready for the pledge.
I'm ready.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. That brings us to agenda item 3, presentations and recognition. 3A is our foster program update. Dr. Wilson.
Mr. President, members of the governing board, one of the initiatives we embarked upon, it seems like now quite a while ago, is our approach towards better meeting the needs of our foster youth. We've talked previously about how we have the ability, we think, to truly pour into the lives of our foster youth. And in doing that, we hired a gentleman who has experience in the foster youth program, and he's here tonight to kind of give us an update and give you an update on where we're at so far. So, John?
Thank you, sir. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
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 So as Dr. Wilson said, this is just to present, give a current update on our foster youth program. To put in a little bit of context, I started in March, I believe, and we had nothing in place. When I first started, I spoke with our counselor, and he said we had served 10 foster youth that he knew of. So I wanted to give you guys some context as we start talking about where we're at in the program thus far. We currently are serving 28 youth in foster care. That's made up of 10 students who are brand new to our program, who have been referred to come to EVIT to do our GED program. 6 students are still enrolled in our GED program. 1 student has successfully passed a section of the GED test, and unfortunately 3 students are no longer enrolled in our GED program. 8 students are existing EVIT students who are now receiving additional wraparound services from myself. What these were students who were attending EVIT that we did not know, but I've been able to locate them between the 2 campuses, and now they're getting my assistance. 3 students have been referred to EVIT for CTE exclusive programs. These are students who have already graduated high school, and we're looking for post-secondary options. And now they are attending EVIT for those options. 8 students have started the enrollment process but are not finished with enrolling in our CTE programs. 1 student has graduated high school and completed her CTE program here. She's currently attending Phoenix College, and she's still receiving assistance from me because I help her with all of her financial aid and all of the monies that are afforded to her by being in foster care. So, and she passed all her classes first semester at Phoenix College. So. Kudos to her. And through my assistance, 5 of our students have received additional funding, financial aid, that they did not know about just from being in foster care to help cover some of the cost of their CTE programming. Some of the recruitment outreach we've done, it's been through campus tours I've hosted, it's been through virtual meetings, it's also going to the sites to meet with people and talk about EVIT. One of the things that I mentioned when I first was interviewed and brought on was EVIT is one of the best kept secrets, basically the East Valley. So I took it upon myself to make sure that some of our foster youth, their providers, their support team knows about EVIT and knows about the program that we have in place right now to help support these students in care. So that includes Sun Air Group Homes, Child Crisis, Hazelwood Independent Living, Foster 360, Homeless Youth Connections, Home-Based Youth Services, Christian Family Services, Saguaro Key Independent Living, Brothers and Keepers Group Homes, Foster Arizona, and Keys to Success. Through the recruitment and outreach, Keys to Success has probably been our most successful partner. We had an existing partnership with them prior to me coming on, but over the last couple of months, their referral for foster youth to EVIT has increased. The majority of our referrals have been just through existing partnerships and relationships I've had in the foster care community. It hasn't been that much of a return as far as going to many different organizations and talking about EVIT. One thing about the foster care systems is it's kind of a tight-knit system where you have to kind of show me before people start referring their youth to come and get your assistance. So I think it's one of those things, as we start seeing more foster youth complete our programs, graduate with CTE certifications, obtaining their GEDs, then we'll start seeing even more because they'll say, okay, the proof is in the pudding. EVIT does a good job with our population. Some of the previous foster events we've done, October 14th, we had our first foster youth culinary event. It was covered by the East Valley Tribune. We had a total of 15 students attend. What this was intended for was when foster care students turn 18, the state technically considers them adult. Those of us that work with 18-year-olds realize they're not adults. So what this event was to kind of teach them some life skills, culinary skills, basics to how to cook for themselves when they do live on their own, whether it be independent living or their own placements. We will have a second event. We have tentative dates for either February 17th or the 24th. Again, as I talk about word of mouth, Sacred Journey, which has 5 group homes, heard about the success of our first culinary event, and now we will having a second event exclusively for their group homes and 25 youth. On January 22nd, we will be having a foster youth skateboard event. This will be a collaboration with the Swap Out Plus Foundation, Arizona Association of Foster and Adoptive Parents, and Molina Healthcare. This will be for 30 foster youth. They will receive longboards. It's a 2-part where they will have coaches, 1 coach for each 2 that will teach them the basics of riding a skateboard. They'll receive helmets, they'll receive pads. And the second part of the event is we will have guest speakers talking to foster youth about resiliency, not giving up, and persevering over obstacles. And then February 25th, we have the annual Next Chapter Symposium. It's a symposium in collaboration with ASU Bridging Success, First Start ASU, Voices for Casa Children, and the Arizona Department of Child Safety. What this is a symposium for people who work with foster youth. I'm one of the presenters of the symposium. I'll be speaking about post-secondary options, as well as basically workforce development for youth that, again, are aging out of care in the foster care system. Finally, moving forward, we're working on 2 partnerships. One of the obstacles we run into with our foster care students is credit recovery. Many of them are extremely credit deficient because they move around a lot, very transient population. And a lot of them, like most students, they want to obtain their high school diploma as opposed to their GED. So we are working on a program to offer a credit recovery option here on campus, so it can kind of be a one-stop shop where we can come register a student for online credit recovery high school and then also register them for CTE programming at the same time. And then another partnership is with Arizona at Work Youth Force Services. So with foster care youth, they receive their services until they're 21 years old, and then a lot of their funding runs out. WIOA basically has funding for youth up to 24 years old, from 18 to 24, $12,000 per student. They are already paying for the tuition of several of our students here who aren't in foster care. They were really excited about the opportunity to be here on campus, and again, using that one-stop shop type model where we can get their financial aid, CTE, tuition costs covered, as well as registering them for classes. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm happy. So far, he's told me that he's happy with the progress we've made with having basically no program at all to all of these events we've done and all of the events we plan on doing in the future.
So I'd like to give John a compliment. I mean, he wasn't kidding when he said we had nothing. And to, in my simple mind, the idea is, well, we're going to hire them and they're just going to come. And it just doesn't work that way. And so, the creativity that he's shown and the innovation that he's shown is just exceptional. So thank you very much. And I know he spends a lot of time, we're still in partnership trying to see if we can't service even more foster youth in a real meaningful way, in addition to what he's doing. And we hope to be able to come back to you in the spring and talk a little bit more about some of those next steps. But I just wanted to thank you for all that you're doing as well. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Awesome, Jerome.
Thank you.
I too would like to say thank you. That brings us to 3B, the Best of the Best Award. Dr. Wilson.
Mr. President, members of the governing board, as much as I want to introduce this recipient, I think it's much more appropriate for Ms. Kuhn to introduce her. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Kuhn.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Mr. President, Dr. Wilson, esteemed board members, tonight it's my honor to tell you a little bit about our best of the best high school teacher, Paula Corbin. This is her third year with us, or our third year with her. And in that time, she has done so much, and I know I'm gonna miss a lot of the wonderful things, so you can ask her to fill in the holes that I forget. Should have asked for your CV, would have been better. Currently this year, she has 100% placement for her second year students, spring internships. This year, the total college tuition scholarships her students have received while they're here at EVIT, they're earning their college credit worth $22,715. Or her students will leave because of her going after programs with Mesa Community College with their certificate of completion in early childhood education if they choose to. She's been featured on Brad Perry's AZTV7 and as a feel-good story on the Good Morning Arizona show. She's one of the main organizers and players in getting the Maricopa County Head Start back on our campus so that her students could have the hands-on experience they need with their practicums. She's also part of a pilot program this year with Boeing and Ed Rising in association with the Arizona Education Foundation in a program called Teach STEM, where 6 class periods, 10 total class periods a year. They come out and do lessons with their students. And it's also led to connections with the Mayo Clinic for our health department as well. She's brought in future employees for her students that not only will employ her students, but that also will pay for their entire bachelor's degrees. She's not on just one, not two, but 3 boards outside of EVIT. She's part of the board of Valley of the Sun board member. She was recently invited and chosen to be part of the board of directors for Arizona Rising, and she's also on the board for Rio Salado Community College School of Education. Paula is the epitome of what we call ourselves here at EVIT. And what she does every day shows how she loves her students and serves our community that we do. So, Mr. President, esteemed board members, Dr. Wilson, Mrs. Paula Corbin.
Thank you very much. Is she coming up yet?
Any questions? Any questions?
I just really appreciate everything you've been doing for the students. I think that they're on a very good path with your concentrated efforts, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Paula.
That brings us to 3C, Students of the Month. Dr. Wilson?
Mr. President, members of the governing board, each and every month we take an opportunity to celebrate a lot of different aspects of our organization, but the most significant celebration we do is we celebrate our students and our Student of the Month. I'd like to start tonight with the Power Campus, and I'd like to ask the principal, Mr. John Casaro, to come up and take the presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Good evening, governing board members. First, I'd like to introduce Ms. Jennifer Schwartz. She is going to introduce you to our AM Student of the Month for the Power Campus.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to come and introduce my student. This is Izzy Mcgee, and I am really happy that she was selected for our Student of the Month. Every month, Mr. Casaro sends an email and asks for a Student of the Month. And I nominated Izzy at the beginning of the year, and I specified that until she's selected, I'm going to keep resubmitting her for Student of the Month. And every month, she does more and more to impress me. So this is what I wrote down for my nomination, because I know I'm going to forget. She's just an amazing student. So as I mentioned, Mr. Casaro asks us to think of a Student of the Month every month. And every time I'm like, okay, who would be the best student to put down in writing and has the quantitative data to, back up that statement, not just, feelings, I love this student, but who actually has the quantitative data to actually follow through with that. So here's some of the things that Izzy has just done in the classroom. She's, as you can see, she's over here smiling. She always has a smile on her face. Every day that she comes in, she sees what she can get done, so she has items that she knows that she can do as soon as she comes into class. She doesn't even ask. She's helping me. Do you need help with anything, Ms. Schwartz? Would you like help grading? Would you like help handing out any assignments? Can I help you set up the lab? Can I help you set up the classroom? Every day. Not just once in a while, but every day she comes in and she does that. If she's not sure if she can complete a task, she'll ask if she can, and if she needs directions, she's not afraid to ask on how she might do that. But it's not just a help to me in the class for my nomination, it's also because of her help to her fellow students. So along with being helpful to me, she helps them by making sure that maybe they're on track. So when I give them time to work on something, how's everyone doing? Does anyone need any help with any rewording of maybe some of the content? Making sure that even those students who might be a little bit more shy don't get missed as well, but she's also an advocate for those students when they might need help because maybe they're a bit too shy to say anything. So without further ado, I'd like you to go ahead and introduce you to Izzy Mcgee, and just very happy that she was selected for Student of the Month. Thank you.
So Izzy, tell us a little bit about yourself, your home high school, what your interest is when you're done with our program, just a little bit about you, if you wouldn't mind.
I go to Mesquite High School. I am in the second year, obviously, and I love the program so far. I've already been placed at a clinic, and it's very close to my house, and it's exactly what I've been wanting to do. My future goals are to be a wildlife marine vet for rescue animals. So with this clinic, it's very based on emergency, and that's my main focus right now.
That's great. How did you find out about EVIT? This is your second year, but how did you find out about it 2 years ago?
I found out through my school.
Very good. Very good. Now, do you have anybody here with you tonight?
Yes, my parents and then my sister and my siblings.
Mom and dad? Okay. So we understand as an organization, thank you very much for letting us work with your daughter. But at the same time, we know that she isn't up here just on her own, that you all have done your work to make sure that she's here. So thank you all very much for that as well. Much appreciated. Governing board members, any questions, anything that you would like to find out about Izzy?
Yeah, I'd like to ask you, what do you tell your friends about EVIT?
It's a great program. If I miss a day, I would rather miss the normal school than this. I don't like missing here.
There you go.
Wow.
Well, thank you very much. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
It certainly is.
So our PM Student of the Month was nominated by Mr. Lou Amity. Mr. Amity wasn't able to make it here tonight, and actually neither was our student. She is currently playing in a soccer game. She plays for Fountain Hills High School, and she said she was going to try to make it, but then she told me this afternoon that three of her teammates were ineligible because of grades. So she had to make sure she was at the soccer game. So I'm going to read to you what Mr. Amity wrote about. Her name is Cambria Van Orden. And again, she is a student at Fountain Hills High School. As an aviation instructor at the East Valley Institute of Technology, I cannot think of a more deserving student to recognize as the East Campus Student of the Month. It has been a pleasure to have Cambria as a student in various aviation courses over the last 2 years. She is an extremely motivated student that is immediately recognized as a determined individual with the character and determination necessary to overcome obstacles and achieve her goals. As proof of her commitment, Cambria is pursuing her goal to become a commercial pilot while actively engaged in the aviation program at EVIT. She always displays a positive, enthusiastic attitude and is never hesitant to take on new challenges, whether in the aircraft systems lab or in the classroom. What has impressed me most is Cambria's persistence and drive to study and learn new material that was once unfamiliar to her. She is extremely poised and professional when speaking with her teachers and fellow students. Outside of her already busy academic schedule, she is a member of Academic Honor Roll and will have completed 20 college credits applicable to aviation degree before high school graduation. She also has a part-time job, and then she's on the soccer team. She's always dependable with excellent attendance. Without fail, she has consistently completed all assignments and is eager to speak up and share her newfound knowledge. I am confident that Cambria will soon fulfill her goal of becoming a commercial pilot and follow the footsteps of her great-grandfather. Her great-grandfather was a pilot in World War II. He was a fighter pilot in World War II. This young lady certainly has the drive and potential to achieve anything she sets her mind to. I look forward to one day hearing Cambria announce, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is the captain speaking." So that was her. That's our
Wow.
PM
Oh,
student.
congratulations. That's great. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And from our main campus, I'd like to ask Mr. Fisher to come up and please introduce his staff and students. Mr. Fisher?
Board President and esteemed board members, thanks for having me here. And Dr. Wilson, thanks for giving me this honor every month to celebrate some of our students. Move that away just a little bit. Our first student I'd like to invite up here is from Mr. Juday's radio program. Unfortunately, Mr. Juday is not able to be here, so I'm going to go ahead and invite Finn Taylor up here while we pull up a video of Mr. Juday to speak his piece.
Mr. Fisher, members of the board, and Dr. Wilson, it is my privilege to be able to introduce.
What's the line up? Sorry.
Mr. Fisher, members of the board, and Dr. Wilson, it is my privilege to be able to introduce you to Finn Taylor as the Student of the Month for November 2021. Finn is a 17-year-old senior in our radio audio production AM class who also attends Highland High School. Finn has been a standout student since arriving in our program a year and a half ago. In fact, he was recognized as our department's AM Student of the Month at this time last November. Finn brings positive energy and eagerness to learn and a passion for our program every day to the classroom. Academically, Finn has always excelled here at EVIT while also trying to encourage or assist his classmates who may need a helping hand. Finn is extremely reliable and has done so much to earn my trust. If a tour comes through our program, whether it's another high school or Dr. Wilson with some VIPs, Finn is the first student ambassador that I look for. He works with Bree as a school-wide tour guide, and Finn is one of my go-to students in terms of engineering our high school football, basketball, and baseball softball games. He enjoys gaining more experience and also showing the new students the ropes of live sound engineering. Finn's production skills are also top-notch, partially due to his creativity, but also because he's a fast learner who was able to master the Pro Tools editing software fairly quickly, while also becoming very proficient with all of the equipment in the music recording studio. His work has also gained national attention as he was nominated in the Best Newscast, Best Sportscast, and Broadcaster of the Year categories at this year's John Drury National High School Radio Awards. Finn's submissions contributed heavily to the Pulse winning Best High School Radio Station. Post-EVIT, Finn was considering MCC, but now has his sights set on attending ASU. He's part of the Rise Scholars program here at EVIT and is looking to study communications and film next fall. Finn says his favorite part of EVIT is the environment and the people, and it's because of students like Finn who do so much to contribute to a positive and professional learning environment that our program is welcoming, inclusive, and a place where students look forward to spending half of their school day. It has been a pleasure getting to know Finn. He has a very bright future, both in our program and beyond. It was for all of these reasons that I was pleased to name him as our AM Radio Audio Production Student of the Month, and I'm thrilled that he was selected for the school-wide award. Finn, I only wish I could have been there tonight in person to introduce and congratulate you.
So without further ado, Finn.
Hello, I'm Finn.
So Finn, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about your home high school, what brought you to EVIT, what you want to do after EVIT's experience. Just tell us about you.
Okay. So I go to Highland for the second half of my day. I'm a senior there. And what brought me here to EVIT was my sophomore year. I had heard about EVIT through my social studies class. We had done a PowerPoint presentation, And I came here to the EVIT Expo to just like take a look around. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I was looking at, they had the VET program, and then I heard the radio station playing music very loudly, and so I tend to gravitate towards loud things. So I went over there and they gave me a tour of their program, and they had a lot of student ambassadors leading the tours, and they were just so enthusiastic and happy about everything they were doing. This kid said that he woke up like thinking about going to EVIT at AM, and I've never been excited to go to school before, so that really interested me. And I can second what he was saying. Like I really like coming to EVIT, even though it's a bit of a drive over here. It's always nice to be greeted with like a lot of energy and a lot of happy faces when I get into the class.
That's great. And as Mr. Jude said, you're a wonderful ambassador. Every time that I've come up and brought people, you do a phenomenal job. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you have anybody here with you? Is there anybody that we can introduce?
I got my mom over there.
Mom, thank you very much. It's a pleasure working with Finn, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to do so. So thank you. Very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
Governing board members, any questions for Finn? Or
Yeah, did Highland High School do something special last week?
That's what I was gonna ask.
I beat you to it.
Not sure. Special, like in
Don't
the
you have
school?
Your football
Don't
team?
you have a good football team?
Yeah. Yeah. My stock market teacher is one of the football coaches, and so today he was like, well, I've got another game to plan, which isn't a bad thing, it's a great thing. But yeah, so we're really excited about that. Awesome. Yeah.
well, congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
That's their first state champion in school. That's their first state champion in school.
I just wanted to point out, I think it's really neat that this is the second time in 2 years that Finn's been up here and we've been celebrating this. Mr. Jude puts out a lot of suggestions all the time, but this is one that stands out and his stand out. So for Mr. Jude to have a standout report of a student really says something. So Finn, great honor. So I'm going to take a play out of John's book here, and I'm going to introduce a group of students. Because we had an awesome activity that Mr. Metcalf took some students down to Tucson with. It's the High School Pit Stop Challenge. And I'd like to introduce the team that's made up of both some of our AM and PM students from his automotive second year program. So, Mr. Metcalf.
Awesome.
Board, Dr. Wilson, and of course, Mr. Fisher. I'd like to invite you guys for inviting me out here today to shine this gleaming light on some wonderful automotive students. Out of all 300 of the students, they're all great, but I have 5 with me tonight that really took the initiative to work as a team, come together, change their work schedules, and really kind of showed what community and what EVIT's all about. So if I could invite them up now, Mr. Elvin, Nathan, Elon, Alex, and James, come on down. So to go through each one of these students and describe their accolades and all of the wonderful things they've done in our program, it would take us well past 9 o'clock. So to keep it short, I kind of want to talk about their group and their work together as a whole. We went down to Tucson to compete in the High School Pit Crew Challenge. There was 23 teams there. There were schools from all over Arizona. And the top 3 spots were held by, well, 2 of the 2 spots were held by EVIT. So it was a great opportunity for them to showcase teamwork and showcase their dedication. And took 2nd place, took 3rd place. And we won't talk about why we didn't take 1st place, but we'll just say that there was a penalty out there. But I'd like to maybe introduce James. You'd like to come up and say a couple words about your experience and kind of let the board and everybody else know. Come on.
So, hello, my name is James. Thank you. I am a 2nd year automotive high school student. I actually don't attend a public high school. I am a homeschooled student attending EVIT. But our trip down to Tucson was a great experience. It was an awesome time down there. Just great time to spend with classmates, bond with several of my fellow classmates, all of which we work together still in class doing even just basic school assignments. But it was an awesome time going down there and actually competing against all of schools around Arizona. It was a great competition.
Hi there, my name is Elon Bravo. I was also one of the fellow competitors that went down to Tucson. While we were down there, we did come together in a stressful environment. It was early morning for us, and it did last the entire day. When we got done, we were all just tired and ready, but that entire event was the best event that could happen so far.
My name is Alex, and I'm also a second-year automotive student. And the Pit Crew Challenge, for some reason, it really gave me something to look forward during the AM. So every time we would get our team together and start practicing. So like we would always ask Metcalf, like, hey, we're done with our assignment. You think we could start practicing for the Pit Crew Challenge? And we just always did rounds over and over and over. And actually our team with Elon and James, they actually got together with AM and PM. So they got together with AM and PM students to form a team. And yeah, that's about it.
He said no.
My name is Nathan Corfin. I'm a second-year automotive student. And during the Pit Crew Challenge, I think we all became like better friends, and we all like learned how to work better together. And it was, like Alex said, fun practicing each day.
So my name is Elvin. I'm a second-year student who graduated in May, and the Pit Crew Challenge really brought us together, really made us look forward to something, and helped us overall grow a lot. After our activities, as Alex was saying, we would ask Mr. Metcalf if we can go on and practice with the vehicles in order to, well, for the event, and we would even stay after school at times in order to better the vehicles and all that, to get it more and get more used to whatever the competition had for us.
Got a question for you, okay? Since you're the last one to speak, you get to answer the questions, I guess. Thanks for being last. What was the greatest thing going down there that you learned to bring back with you that you remember the rest of your life?
Overall, I guess it would be like practicing for everything and trying to keep a mind ahead of things, like preparation, and overall enjoy whatever is going on, making the best out of it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, go ahead, Mr. Metcalf, I'm sorry.
I think I know what they're all thinking about to answer your
So,
question, sir.
to answer your question, one thing that we really learned a lot was the smallest things that you don't even think about is the thing that's gonna bite you in the back. The smallest things, the thing that you overlooked, is gonna bite you in the back.
That's a great lesson, great lesson. I know what it was.
It was that was my pleasure to introduce all these gentlemen tonight, and board, Dr. Wilson, Mr. Fisher, any questions?
Yeah, I do. This is great. So you got these 5 young men. I have grandsons, and it's kind of interesting to see how they interact. Was this kind of like a sibling, like arguments going on from time to time? I'm just kind of wondering.
It was interesting. I think when it came down to the final 3 teams, 2 of EVIT's teams there, it was kind of this friendly competition. But I do think there was some head bumping along the way, but that should come with growth. And
that's awesome.
So.
There's a quote that I think you guys might, you may have heard it before, but I think it's pretty relative to what you've done. It's a team is not a group of people who work together. A team is a group of people who trust each other. And that's Simon Sinek, and that's one thing that you probably learned, that it's not so much that you're working together, that you trust each other, that carry the load that you've agreed to. So nice job. That's very cool stuff.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I am so impressed with, and this group I think represents a lot of what we are about as EVIT. Here you have young men who are from all over the East Valley, some from public high school, some homeschools, very different lives, but also have very much the same commitment and passion to what they believe in. And they come here on our campus, not knowing each other, learning a skill, learning a trade, having to become a team, collaborate, socialize, interact, and honestly, we would have one if it wasn't for the smallest detail. Yes. So thank you all very, very much. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Board. Thank you, Dr. Wilson.
That's very true, because those kids are also different.
That brings us to 3D life cycle analysis. Dr. Wilson.
Mr. President, members of the governing board, we embarked on the process of redefining and relooking at what our main campus is to be in terms of remodeling in order to better facilitate learning opportunities for our students. But what we said before we started that is we wanted to get a life cycle analysis on this campus so that we understand some of the preventative maintenance work that should have been done over the past 20 years that wasn't done. And so we have a brief update tonight for you on that from Mr. Brubaker, who is helping us facilitate that.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Wilson. Mr. President, members of the board, as Dr. Wilson said, my intent tonight is to keep this brief, but always the goal is to keep you informed. And specifically, the construction that's going on, this being the life cycle, and it specifically has to do with your main campus. I know that you were given an executive summary that tried to give you an overview of what's been happening to date. I'll just hit a couple of things real quick and then allow you to ask me any questions if you have any. Specifically, there's 16 buildings here on this campus. We've been able to go through about 12 of them right now. We have 4 more left, and that is taking an inventory of all the different components that have to do with the building, from the roof all the way down to even on the outside of the building and in the parking lots. Going through and putting together square footage, square yards, whatever it might be, if it's carpeting, if it's flooring, painting, roofing, whatever that might be, and taking an inventory, and then putting together a summary of the conditions of that particular component and when that component might need to be repaired or replaced. Specifically, if you look at the one page that's right after the one that had the aerial of your entire campus, the following one has a page that looks similar to this that I'm showing you, that has specifically at the top, it has an example of an auditorium that went down through and took an inventory of every room of all these components that I'm talking about. That's what we'll have at the end of this study of building by building, room by room, and then below that is then it'll be put into a summary that'll break it down into interiors, plumbing, exterior, grounds, all electrical, all the different parts and pieces, and then project over a period of time. That example that's shown there is actually taken out to 10 years, where each year would be indicating what we think that needs to be replaced that year, the first year, the second year, third year, and all the way out to 10 years and beyond, which allows you to then budget your, as you put together your yearly budgets of what needs to be taken care of at each one of these categories that I expressed here. So the goal is to have this completed and to be able to come to you in your second board meeting in January with some recommendations on what we think that you need to be addressed immediately, and then what could be spread over a period of time. And so that is my quick summary of what we're doing to date. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer those for you.
I have a couple questions.
Yes.
Thank you very much for doing this and putting this together with a map. This was kind of nice.
Thank you.
Before this, I wasn't familiar with where building number 1 was.
Yes.
So, so do you? Is this going to ultimately end up with some sort of PM schedule that we'll be able to use here? We'll be able to use this information for a PM schedule, and we'll be able to use some of this information to give us an opportunity to put together something that will extend life cycles of all of these things.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it not only extends it, but also then records when you do replace or remodel that area, then it starts all over, then it kind of keeps going.
Okay,
Yes.
and ongoing documentation,
Yes, sir.
memorialization.
It's a working
of the-
document.
Nice, awesome.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So one of the things, as a reminder of why this matters, not only for the reason that Mr. Fleetham indicated, but as we look at the remodeling that needs to be done here in order to facilitate the growth opportunities that we expect to have here, as well as potentially going back out to Power Campus for an extended expansion, we need to understand what costs we have associated to the preventative maintenance. And so this will give us not only a short-term understanding, but a long-term understanding. So this has been a long time coming, and I appreciate you guys actually taking the time to do it. So thank you very much.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
That brings us to agenda item 4, approval of the minutes for the November 8 meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll approve, move that we approve the minutes for the December 8th meeting.
I'll
Is
second.
there,
Boggs,
is,
second.
is there any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Boggs, will you call for the vote?
Lane,
Aye.
Leadham,
Abstain?
Covington,
Aye.
Luke. Aye. I also abstain. Hobson,
Aye.
Watkins.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
That brings us to item 5, call to the public. Dr. Wilson, is there anything in this category?
No, sir, there's not.
That brings us to item 6, consent agenda items. They will be considered in group unless anyone has an objection. Does anyone wish one of the group, is it A through I believe? Does anyone wish one of those excluded? Hearing none, I'll call for a motion.
I'll move we approve the consent agenda items A through I. However, I'm not sure A is actually an item.
No, it's not.
It's
Yeah.
not.
Hold on. I'll restate that to
B through I.
B through I.
I have that written here, as a matter of fact, but I didn't see it.
I will second that. Boggs.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Boggs, will you call for the vote?
Lane,
Aye.
Leadham,
Aye.
Covington,
Aye.
Luke. Aye. Boggs is an aye. Hobson
Aye.
and Watkins.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
That brings us to agenda item 7, personnel. 7A, students, excuse me, approval for the certified and classified. Do I have a motion?
What is the word?
Am I losing the audio or did I not
No,
get a
I'm just
motion?
reading.
I'll so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second that. Fleetum.
Is there any discussion? Ms. Boggs, will you call for the vote?
Yes. Lane,
Aye.
Leadham,
Aye.
Covington,
Aye.
Luke. Aye. Boggs is an aye. Hobson
Aye.
and Watkins.
Aye. Motion carried. That brings us to item 8, information and discussion. Dr. Wilson?
Mr. President, members of the governing board, this is just to bring back a conversation that we've had on again and off again for the past few months about our opportunity to partner with Westmac and Westmac's governing board, not only potentially to have some deeper discussions about both of our participation in ASBA, but also if there are some ways in which potentially we can partner together in other aspects as well. You know, we certainly are the 2 largest CTEDs in the state of Arizona, and are there ways that we can partner together to be more efficient and effective in what we're doing? In our conversation with Westmac, it was their suggestion or their desire to have 2 of their board members and the superintendent get on a Zoom call with our board members and the superintendent to have a discussion about kind of next steps, right? I mean, what is that gonna look like? If it's a conversation about ASBA, what does that really mean? What are we intending? What are some of those partnerships? So that you as a governing board can actually kind of begin formulating what that actual bigger meeting would look like. My comment to Westmac is I'm not so sure. I just have two governing board members that want to be part of that process to kind of lay the groundwork for what that next step is going to be. So what I would ask is if you're interested in that, to be part of that, if you would let Tammy know, and then she'll work to arrange an opportunity for us to get together with the Westmac Governing Board virtually before we all get together as in a joint meeting. If it turns out that we have more than 4 of you that want to do that, then we certainly would have to post it and go down the road of having it be a much more formal process. So I would like at least 3 of you, maybe
Tammy,
4
please
of you.
put me on the list for that.
Ms.
Thank you.
Boggs, Mr. Lane, Ms. Luke?
I could be available
Okay.
if needed.
Okay.
Good. I'd like to ask a question here.
Sure.
What are we going to be doing in this meeting? What is
So
what is
this-
this meeting about?
Yeah, this meeting is an opportunity for the elected officials to discuss what the next meeting's about, essentially, because ultimately, the idea of talking about ASBA's partnership and participation, that can go a number of different ways. It can go where we have a joint board meeting and you all have discussions with ASBA. It could be ASBA coming and doing a presentation, but also kind of the parameters around what some of the additional partnerships might look like.
Okay.
Did we-
So we're not really talking about anything specific. We're just talking about a bunch of stuff. I'm not, to whether we partner with Westmec to do something about something, right?
Correct, and I
Okay.
think this is an initial, I think it's initially an
Well,
opportunity
that's-
for the elected officials. I mean, I was honest with you guys about this. This isn't my issue, right?
Right.
So,
Gotcha.
we can formalize it and have a board meeting, or you as elected officials can begin discussing what you would like your time together to be.
Did you reach out to ASBA again?
No, I have not. I've been waiting for this.
Oh, okay. Me too.
Any others? I have 3. 3's perfect.
That's a good number.
That's a
We
good
don't
number.
have
Bless you.
quorum issues.
I think the 3 will represent us very well.
Okay, so we'll work with Westmac to get the 3 involved, and my guess is it's gonna be a Zoom meeting, probably sometime right after the holiday, I think, is when we'll have that first meeting, and then we'll target us sometime quickly after that to bring the 2 boards together.
I'd like to move it towards after 5
Okay,
PM.
yeah. Very good, thank you.
That brings us to agenda item 9, policy revisions. Dr. Wilson, are you going to fill in for Kevin? Or
9 is not policy revisions, it's CTED satellite programs.
Well, there's action items 9A is policy revision.
Oh, okay.
the second read, correct?
Correct. And I certainly can. I believe that Kevin had spoke to these previously, so I don't know
Yes.
if there were additional questions or concerns, but this is the second read.
Nothing's changed since this is the first read, correct?
Correct.
Okay, shouldn't be any problem. I move that we approve them.
I think we need to state the policies.
Yep.
I didn't hear a second. Was there a second?
I'll second policies JII and JII-R revision.
And I'll second that.
That was the second.
That was the
That
second.
was the second?
Wait, so we have was there an amended motion?
No.
I
No.
No.
No, he just
So we have
clarified
a
it.
motion.
I clarified
Okay,
it during the
clarified
second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Boggs, will you call for the vote?
Yes. Lane?
Aye.
Fleetum?
Aye.
Covington?
Aye.
Luke? Aye. Boggs is an aye. Hobson?
Aye.
And Watkins.
Aye. Motion carried. That brings us to agenda item 9B, renaming of the satellite programs. Do I have a motion? Oh, no, Dr. Wilson.
Mr. President, members of the governing board, these are 2 programs in which the sending districts have been working to get their instructors highly qualified with ADE. These individuals have been teaching the course, and the course is not uploaded into the state during the period of time in which they're not highly qualified to generate ADM. But they have become highly qualified, and as such, they meet all the requirements for program approval.
Will this give them funding for the whole year?
No.
Just
It only, from the time in which the instructor is highly
Just for
qualified.
second semester?
Mhm. Correct.
Yeah, so there's just 2 for Mesa.
No, there's one for Mesa and one for Scottsdale.
Doesn't
Okay. Okay, sorry.
Business operations.
Right.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move that we approve the 2 satellite programs that have been presented for approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Boggs, will you call for the vote?
Lane?
Aye.
Fleedham?
Aye.
Covington?
Aye.
Luke? Aye. Boggs is an aye. Hobson?
Aye.
And Watkins.
Aye.
Motion carries.
That brings us to item C, 9C, certification and licenses. Dr. Wilson?
Mr. President, members of the governing board, one of our obligations each and every year is to have the board ratify the certifications and licenses that our programs are offering our students. We go through a process in which we ask our staff to not only look for certifications and licenses, as well as portfolio process that is not only offered, that's not only recognized by ADE, but also if we believe there's one that is more significant, then we try to get that on ADE's list. And so in your backup, you'll see certifications and licenses and portfolios in red that are new for this year that are being added as part of our requirement towards making sure that our students are earning current and valid industry certifications and portfolios.
Is there any other discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'd like to move that we accept the industry license certification as presented here.
I'll second. That's Luke.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Boggs, will you call for the vote?
Lane?
Aye.
Fleedham?
Aye.
Covington?
Aye.
Luke?
Aye.
Boggs is an aye. Hobson?
Aye.
And Watkins.
Aye.
Motion carries.
That brings us to item D, the 301 plan. Dr. Wilson, who was going to talk for that?
Mr. Lisenby is here tonight to speak to our 301 plan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Watkins, members of the governing board. My name is Justin Lisby. I'm here to present the 301 plan on behalf of the 301 committee. So we began reviewing the plan in September. 13 members of our committee did. We continue to work hard to continue to line up the plan to meet the goals of the district. The ones that are set by the governing board and Dr. Wilson and where we're going. And I feel this year's plan really takes into account all of that, and I think it's probably one of our best plans there. So again, our 301 plan, our new evaluation tool we've been using the last 2 years, it was also to help them work closer together and through that process. There's different performance buckets that we go through for the payments. Some of it covers base pay for certified teachers, performance pay for certified staff, and a menu of services for all staff based on attendance and placement rates. When we talk about what we try to align our plan with, we use the success markers that were set and identified by the goals of the governing board. We've really emphasized the last couple years the technical skills assessment here at EVIT with our instructors and trying to make sure they understand the importance of it, especially since our students are attending EVIT for 2.5 hours a day, 5 days a week. We should be doing well on the TSA and looking at the data. We work on industry certifications and portfolios based off of the list that you just approved. Getting our students placed after graduation, whether it be continuing on in their education or working in their field. and then how we look at process improvements and program improvements. The staff that's eligible, certified staff that's eligible, is all instructional certified staff. Non-instructional certified staff are eligible as well, as if they fall into the criteria of being a certified counselor or an instructional specialist. And then the permanent substitutes we have at EVIT are not eligible for the performance pay, but they're eligible for placement pay. So the highlights of the plan changes for this year. The biggest is the reduction of pages in the document. That was guidance we received from the governing board last year and from staff to try to simplify the plan. We took the pay document from 20 pages to 6 pages. The plan is 100% data-driven now, and it aligns completely with the mission and vision of the district. Teachers are not having to do extra things that it's not related to them being in the classroom, teaching their students, and trying to get their students to pass certification or the TSA. It's recognizing the teacher performance in the classroom based off the data we receive on all of that material. It clarified TSA and industry license certification component for first and second year teachers. This year we eliminated the stretch goals, which allowed us to eliminate at least 8 pages of the document there. The stretch goals were really not working to achieve the goal or the mission. They were just teachers looking for a way to reach. It became burdensome for the committee to review them because there was not a fair and equitable part of with the stretch goals because not all teachers would participate in it. And then the menus of services received revised categories with dropout prevention, having the addition of the district-wide incentive for certification. Right now we have a district-wide incentive for placement, and due to some changes in the 301 law on eligible staff, the committee felt the most fair and equitable way to handle those changes was to look at doing an overall certification incentive payout. This doesn't change the existing certification payout teachers receive. So all certified staff fall under the base of the performance pay, with evaluation making up 50% of the performance pay based off the evaluation tool. 10% goes to retention, 5% to related job placement. That's an error in the PowerPoint. That line should not be included. That's job placement's not in there. Student surveys from student, parent, and industry, and then the attendance of the students in the classroom, which exclude COVID absences. The next 2 slides are briefly explain the breakdown, and I have to thank our attorney for the help with trying to make this understandable because it was difficult when we were trying to talk about it, but this was the easiest way. This is what we were all trying to say in not so many words. So if a teacher only handles the TSA, so those in the list of the certifications that were just approved by the governing board, they would be eligible for 20% under their technical skills, and that looks at the percentage of the technical skills passed and their average score. If a teacher does certification, then they would only be rated and judged based off their certification results. We do have some teachers that do both TSA and certification, and that's due to smaller programs or lower enrollment, so they teach both first and second year. So we took an average of all 3 for those teachers. And those teachers have already been identified working with our leadership team in advance. So the next steps, the certified staff reviewed the plan, and there were 3 information meetings held. The plan was then sent to a vote with the certified teachers with 91% pass rate. 103 teachers voted, 94 yes, 9 no. The next step after that would be the approval tonight from the governing board for them to submit it to the state of Arizona for approval. And that is all I have. I feel that this year's plan is, again, we simplified it to try to keep it easier, and I think going forward that we'll continue to have the simple plan that we won't have to make a lot of complicated changes.
Thank you.
How many teachers total do we have? 103 voted.
113, 112, 112.
So 9 abstained or didn't.
Didn't.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Good percentage.
I couldn't hear what that question was, what that comment was.
The comment was, I asked how many total teachers are on campus. They said 112. And my comment back was, of the teachers that voted, was a good percentage pass, 91%.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do I have a motion to approve the 301 plan as presented?
I'd like to approve the 301 plan as presented. Make a
I'll second
motion.
it. Covington?
Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion?
I do. I have a question. So I recognize I'm coming in new, and I don't have the historical data that most other people on the board have, but what would you say are the biggest changes that have the most effect on how this money is awarded? If you could, in a nutshell, address maybe just the top differences.
For this year's plan, what we eliminated with the stretch goals were activities that teachers would have to do that were specific, whether it be doing, we used to have once upon a time parades, writing grants. They were activities that not a lot of teachers could do. So there was not, the focus wasn't really there in that for 10% of the funds. We put that 10% in the evaluation because the new evaluation tool we're using clearly outlines goals and teacher performance. And the 301 plan is to recognize teachers who do go above and beyond in their performance, and now the plan aligns with those goals. So I think, especially the data-driven, we've seen the data, especially for the TSA, on how we're doing in different parts of it, and the goal going forward is to do, whether it be professional development or lunch and learn series, where myself as the 301 chairperson work with our instructional specialists to present how the evaluation tool and 301 plan work together. The goal was not to have teachers not to have to worry about doing extra paperwork to get in extra funds for stuff they're already doing.
Thank you. That makes sense. One other question, if I may. So each school district is allowed to allocate the 301 funding however they choose, especially in light of recent legislative decisions on the pot of 301 money and how it's used. Has EVIT always chosen to award that on performance pay, or how has it always been awarded that way in the past? Yes?
No, it has not.
Okay.
It has not always, and it hasn't always been data-driven, so.
Okay. So that's.
Previously, one of the things that I had a concern about was the lack of using data to drive the payments, because it was, the outcomes, because it was more vague and really at the discretion of whoever the evaluator was, and it wasn't really based on data.
So this is the way.
Switching a plan that really aligns with the data and the outcomes, it's clear, it's more black and white than.
Becomes less subjective and
Less
is a little bit
subjective.
more, okay.
Correct.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just lost the video. Do I still have audio?
Yep. You're good.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Then I'll call for a motion.
I think we have.
already have one.
Yeah, and a second.
We need a vote.
Okay, then I'll.
We're
call
ready
for
to
the
vote.
Yes. Ms. Boggs?
Okay, Lane,
Aye.
Fleetum,
Aye.
Covington,
Aye.
Luke,
Aye.
Boggs is an aye, Hobson,
Aye.
Watkins.
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
Motion carried. That brings us to agenda item 10. Call for an executive session. Do I have a motion to retire into executive session?
I'll move that we convene executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A and 1.
Is there a second?
I will second that motion. Luke?
Ms. Boggs, will you call for the vote?
Lane,
Aye.
Fleetum,
Aye.
Covington,
Aye.
Luke,
Aye.
Boggs is an aye, Hobson,
Aye.
and Watkins.
Aye.
Okay.
Motion carried. We'll reconvene in executive session.
Gonna do it here?
Yeah, we'll just do it here.
Do we need
And we will revisit this on the upcoming Friday, the 17th of December at 5 p.m.
Is there a second?
I'll second that. Fleetum?
That cuts into your vacation, I'm sorry.
Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion?
Does it have?
Yes,
So,
Mr. Watkins?
Yeah.
We could do
I-
Thursday.
Yeah, does it have to be Friday? Can we move it forward?
My concern about the motion is it ties us down to doing this at a given time. I think the better, because it's going to have to be publicly noticed.
Right.
I think the better motion is that to a later date or as further noticed.
I wouldn't even be
Wait,
opposed, I mean, I don't know what your guys' I don't know what the conversation was, and I will get to that frustration at some point in time, but I'm not even opposed if we want to carry it into like Monday of the next week, right? I don't know what people's schedules are, but we're working, I know I'm working Monday of next week as well. So not to Mr. Hobson's point, not tying it specifically to a date and a
Okay.
time may be more beneficial, where we can work and Tammy can work to organize the opportunity
We
to
just
get
have to
people.
make sure, yeah, Monday,
we amend-
we'd have to notice by Friday, though, to have it
Yeah,
on
I mean,
Monday.
so she can work, and even if it's next Wednesday, or, I mean, we've got till the end of the end of December, so we're not bound by the end of this
Okay.
week.
Can we amend the motion?
All right, I'll restate my motion. I would like to, we're going to move to table this item until a later time that is mutually convenient and will be adequately publicly noticed.
Fleetum will second. Oh, no.
Was there a second?
Mr. Hobson?
Ms. Fleetum?
Any discussion? Ms. Boggs, will you call for the vote?
Lane?
Aye.
Fleetum?
Aye.
Covington?
Aye.
Luke?
Aye.
Boggs is an aye. Hobson?
Aye.
Watkins?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
No, we have to turn this back in, don't we?
Not necessarily, as long as you don't share it.
That brings us
Skip
to
that
it.
one.
That brings us to agenda item 12, the superintendent's report.
Mr.
Dr.
President,
Wilson?
thank you. Mr. President, members of the governing board, just 3 items for you. I think all 3 are significant, though, in terms of some of the work that we've been doing here to accomplish our goals. Last week, I believe it was, we had the opportunity to meet with the Chancellor of Maricopa Community Colleges and talk a little bit with him and his team about our desire to pursue an associate's degree. And I think one of the interesting aspects to that conversation was, I think when, from our perspective, my perspective anyway, when they came into the meeting, I think there was some resistance and some hesitation by the Maricopa Community Colleges about what we're wanting to accomplish. And I think after the conversation, it actually was a really positive ending. I think that there was clarity that we provided that gave them a place to land on and be comfortable with. In addition to the discussion on the associate's degree, there was also, I think, a really good conversation about partnerships that we can have with MCC outside of that associates. I mean, as we've talked about before, our associate degree opportunities in a very narrow band, but there are quite a bit of other opportunities that are outside that band. And so it was actually, I think, a very productive meeting with them, and I think clarified some of the concerns they had and lessened some of the concerns they have. We're scheduled to meet with Pima Community College, I believe, right after the first of the year to have some of that same conversation, with the hope being that the opportunity for us to explain what we're doing and why we want to do it, I think will alleviate some of their concerns and some of their fears. And so that was actually really beneficial. We've also had the opportunity to meet. By the end of this week, we would have met with all the CTED superintendents to talk again about the purpose and the rationale behind the associate degree, but also how we can be better partners to the other CTEDs, whether it's us or Westmac, like I've said previously, the largest CTEDs of the state of Arizona, and we need to do better internally, but we also need to be a better partner. As well as helping them understand not only the legislation we plan, but some other legislation that we have some concern with that we'll bring back to you second semester. And that was a good conversation. We're going to go meet with them again, all of them, Wednesday, to have further conversation about where we hope we can go with the associate's degree and the benefit not only to EVIT but to all of the CTEDs. And then just as a notice, you all may be aware of it or not, but Mr. Donovan, who's the superintendent out of Westmac, is resigning, retiring effective the end of this school year. And so Westmac will be in a position in the spring semester of seeking potentially new leadership. And so going back to the conversation of partnering with them and how can we be better partners, I think this, again, opens up opportunities for us to be able to lend some of our expertise in their search process. So lots of work that we've been doing since the last time we were together with the hopes of being better partners to our CTEDs, better partners to our sending districts, and also hopefully being able to be in a position to provide learners better opportunities. So that's it.
Thank you. That brings us to agenda item 13, closing items. A is the calendar. Does anyone have an agenda item they wish placed on the regularly scheduled meeting, January 10? Hearing none, we'll move to adjournment. Do I have a motion?
Also move.
Is there a
Adjourn and get out of here.
Is there a second?
None.
I'll second.
All right,
Ms. Boggs, will you call for a verbal audio vote?
all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Were there any opposed?
Dr. Wilson opposes.
Let's go see how far ahead the Cardinals are.